The groups we'll look at, that's almost 4 levels down. So on the last section we will be around here. This will be the room. You'll start following the blue arrows. So it's like labyrinth. The rooms are all connected to each other with the tunnels. We'll follow the red arrows to go deeper, and on the way back we'll follow the blue arrows. So the area we'll look at will be almost 45–50% of the city. That was the main reason why they made the small tunnels. And there are some places that they used to keep the grains for the animals. And on the walls we see the holes. They turned darker because these caves easily absorb the smoke. So when you cook something, if you smoke or when you light something, they turn darker. That's why in a few minutes when we go to the kitchen, the rooms that they cooked, that's totally dark because the smoke was all absorbed by the cave. So these holes, they were used for candles and for oil lamps, for lighting and heating. That's why it's a bit dark inside. So now we'll follow the red arrows to go deeper, and on the way back we'll follow also the kilim, the flat woven carpets. So they probably slept on them, they think. And most of them are all exhibited in Ankara, Anatolian Civilization Museum in the capital city. And on the right side, one of the entrance of the tunnels you can see here. So that's the entrance of the tunnel, which is 8 kilometers long. Oh. And it starts from here and it goes all the way to the other underground city in Berinkuyu. And you see lots of holes on the ground. Now in a few minutes we will see the bigger ones. These were all used for storage. They stored foods and drinks in these caves.
Very organized.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Tamam. Bakın şu hemşire lived down here almost for 700–800 years, and then after that it was the period of Seljuk Turks and the Ottomans. So after Christians they stopped living in underground caves. So after 11th and 12th AD no one lived in underground caves because the Arabs and the Seljuk Turks and the Ottomans, they had quite large armies, so they had lots of soldiers, so they didn't need to come down and hide in these places. So after 12th AD they stopped using these caves. And that was the altar of the church, and it's all dark because of the lighting during the ceremonies too. And they had a stone here. It was used like a baptism seat used by the kids to sit on in baptism ceremonies. And there are many holes. These were mainly used for wine because it's known that they used to make wine in these underground cities. The last 2 sections will be the wineries. And using the big wine jars, they used to keep wine in the caves to drink wine in the ceremonies. And the cross design, the cross that carved on the rock, that's the only sign that this room was the church. Because they didn't have any frescoes. Maybe the reason that they just lived here for the short period, because it's known that the longest life in this underground city, it was 3 months. And maybe the wall, the surface was not good for the designing. Maybe that's why they didn't have enough light. Maybe that's why they didn't have any paintings. They just had one of the crosses. This was painted, decorated at the end of 7th AD. And that was 2 sections. This was the section that they used to hold in the ceremonies. And the room up there, it was probably connected with some steps or the tunnels. This was the way that archaeologists found here. That was the room that used by monks and the nuns. And there is another tunnel. It seems it goes deeper and larger to the other rooms. All the foods and drinks, just in case, enough for this population. They put everything inside. In the original plan, they probably had wooden pieces to block the top, so it was safe for people to walk on them. They just put this iron after the restorations. And the steps we just passed, these are also new, restored in 1970s. But back then they usually had the sliding, flat or sliding tunnels. But sometimes for quite steep tunnels, they probably had some carved out steps as well. And during the excavations, archaeologists, they found these kind of stones that they used to grind. All kind of spices, herbs, all kind of grains. So that's nearly 4,000 years old. And we still use these kind of wheels a lot in countryside, in Cappadocia, in the east part of Turkey. We still use these kind of wheels.
difficult for us.
Thank goodness for the
Very difficult.
Do they get even smaller than that?
Yeah, one more tunnel, a bit smaller. It was found during the excavations. It was very simple but very good system that worked in these caves for defense. These kind of wheels, the doors that they used in case of emergency. So these wheels, they were very heavy, 700 or 800 kilograms each. That's why it was like a circle. And these were used to block the entrance of the tunnels. And they usually made them for the living and sleeping rooms. So this one here, this is one of the tunnels which was naturally closed off. So during the war times, when they saw enemies coming in, 5 or 6 people, they just blocked the entrance of the tunnels. And they were safe during the nights. And just in the middle, they had a hole to check the enemies. When they saw them coming in, they just attacked them with the weapons or with the spears. They just killed the enemies. So these were very simple, but they worked very well in these caves. Just in this underground city, they found 4 of them. So this was the first one. It was used for this tunnel. We will see 3 more.
Protect the
Yeah, that's what it's looking like.
That was a good video.
You don't know why.
Needed a few more months.
So we are going to follow the last passage now, and that will take us to last section. It goes all the way down 25 meters deeper and 40 meters up. It's a lot of work.
How clever were they?
Yeah, they were very good architects.
That's
Hittites
unbelievable.
were very smart.
Is that it?
Yeah, so this is the chimney. It goes 40 meters up and 25 meters deeper it goes. When you have a look, you can see. Don't drop the cameras.
Would be very hard to be attacked when you've got a tiny little tunnel like this.
I think it's short people.
No. A bit tall. But it was a good system to keep enemies outside.
Oh yes.
That's why the small tunnels.
I think this is one of the most remarkable places, things I've ever
Yes.
seen. This
This
is
is
just
this is the highlight of Cappadocia.
Oh,
This is I think the first and the second is open air museum of Görev. That's
great.
The churches.
yeah. But
Yes.
this
It's also
to
my
me,
favorite. This Even with 5 big tour buses at the same time, we are stuck here, so I can't imagine 5,000 people.
Oh. Wow, this is a big area. This is big.
This is the main kitchen.
Oh, wow.
They didn't have much kitchens, so they didn't have that many. That's why when they had a big kitchen, so they cooked at least for 300 people, just in this one. That's why the kitchens were not many, but quite large.
what's for dinner tonight? Same as yesterday, the day before.